In August 2004, the consumer internet was still recovering from the dot-com crash. A startup with fewer than 1 million users and zero revenue walked into the offices of Greylock Partners and asked for $10 million. If you look at the slides that secured that funding, they look like a relic. There are massive walls of text, clunky graphs, and a design aesthetic that resembles a technical manual rather than a high-stakes pitch. Yet Reid Hoffman walked out with the check. He didn't win over one of the world's most elite venture capital firms with aesthetics. He won because his deck focused on identifying and neutralizing investor doubts before they were voiced. Each slide addressed a specific concern on an investor's invisible checklist. While the text described the business, the structure targeted the underlying skepticism of a post-crash market. Successful pitch decks function as a series of preemptive responses to an investor's objections. The first silent hurdle in the room is basic comprehension. The investors sit there wondering, what exactly are you building and why should we care? Hoffman bypassed standard lists of product features. Instead, he used analogies to existing giants like eBay and PayPal, companies that had already validated the idea that secure networks create massive economic value. But that immediately triggered a far more dangerous doubt. If you have zero revenue and massive competitors like MySpace, how do we know you aren't already obsolete? This quadrant map shows the 2004 landscape. Instead of hiding competitors, Hoffman grouped Friendster and MySpace on the left under social focus. Then he isolated LinkedIn in the top right corner. By separating social from professional tools, he argued he owned an entirely different category. To ground this claim in reality, he used this pie chart showing that by February 2004, LinkedIn already controlled over half of the professional networking space. He then showed the market share just 6 months later. The jump to 73% proved that LinkedIn's network effects were already locking out the competition. Visualizing this trajectory, Hoffman built a sense of inevitability before the conversation even turned to revenue. Once momentum is proven, the investor's mind shifts to the ceiling. The unspoken doubt becomes, is this a real market, or are these numbers inflated? Most founders project a massive, abstract market to appear ambitious. Hoffman did the opposite, breaking his opportunity down into 3 specific segments with clear historical precedents. In this table, he anchored LinkedIn's potential to boring, established industries. By comparing digital ads to the multi-billion-dollar Yellow Pages and offline directory market, the business model felt grounded and achievable. With the market validated, only one silent question remains. Is this the specific team that can actually pull this off? Conventional wisdom says you put the team slide at the beginning. Hoffman broke that rule, borrowing the leadership biographies on slide 34. A founder has roughly 60 seconds of peak attention at the start of a pitch. Hoffman used that time for the vision, letting the team slide serve as the final piece of evidence that his plan was in capable hands. The difference between a rejected deck and a $10 million check often comes down to how well the founder anticipates the psychological objections of the person across the table. Audit your own deck today. Count the slides that can be removed without weakening your core argument. If a slide doesn't answer a specific investor doubt, it is likely clutter. For founders ready to rebuild their narrative around actual investor psychology, we have created a framework for this specific transition. This toolkit includes a 16-page guide that breaks down the subtext of each slide. It explains what to show and, more importantly, which unspoken questions you are answering at every step of the pitch. You can access the complete kit through the link below. Mastering the subtext of your presentation provides a level of clarity that most founders overlook during the fundraising process.